Welcome to the Work Wherever podcast. This podcast where we talk about automation, AI, the ability to work wherever so you can live every day like it is Saturday. And this is a homegrown episode, which means I have my wife here.
Hello.
Hey, wife.
Hi.
So for those of you who are new to the show, we have 4 different flavors. We have the homegrown episodes, which is this one, which is where my wife and I talk about the ability to work wherever and how it affects our daily lives in terms of homeschooling. And it's kind of like a lifestyle vlog. Podcast, lifestyle podcast. The other 3 flavors are Roy's Rants. Those are where it's just me ranting about something. We have the internet hotspot. That's with Sydney and now Destiny 2, where we pull up news articles and talk about them. And then we have the long form or the interviews, which
long form.
We don't do those very often.
Sorry.
But we haven't done one in a while. We were actually invited onto an episode, a podcast. What was it? Business Life of Husband and Wife.
Yes.
We're gonna have them on our show.
Nice.
So for that episode, it'll be me and you.
It'll be long form.
Be long form.
Okay.
It'll be you and me, and we'll be talking to them, interviewing them like they interviewed us.
Fun.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one. So on this episode, it's a homegrown episode, which means we talk about homeschooling. And so we are going to talk about daily planning and how do you plan out your day when it comes to homeschooling, which this is when we were on that episode of Business Life with Husband and Wife. Mm-hmm. We got kind of like the normal questions I feel like we always get. But then they did throw in a few, like the normal questions are like curriculum. Mm-hmm. How do you know what to teach? How do you socialize? Which we've done a few homegrown podcasts on those. And then they asked, like, how do you plan your day?
Yep.
Which we haven't done a podcast on that. So that's what we decided to do for this episode. And if you guys want more information on this while we're talking about this, you can go to homegrownwithhalie.com or halieedwards.com. I think they both go to the same place. homegrownwithhalie.com, and that will have you click on the resources and you can see the downloadable for is it a schedule planner? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's a weekly schedule. I call it our board.
Board, okay.
Because so the downloadable, I print them out every week for each of our children, and I put them on a clipboard and I leave them right above the kids' desks, and then I will reference them throughout the day, and then the children reference them as well. Our oldest is 12, so he's managing his day. I use that downloadable, our board form, to write out his week. And anything that we're doing together, I'll highlight so he knows when he looks on it. He said, knows, okay, I'll wait for mom to do that. Everything else is fair game, and he's able to choose what he wants to do throughout the day.
So when you say highlight, you take a highlighter?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll just highlight the cells that we do together
throughout the whole week. And
yeah.
You do that on Sunday nights, right?
I will. Ideally, I like to do it on Sunday nights. I like to plan the whole week on Sunday nights, but sometimes the evenings get away from us. And we own our own business, yeah. So my evenings are kind of spent doing what I need to do for our business, but as well as scheduling homeschooling. So if I don't get through the whole week on Sunday evening, I will take some time at the end of, the day, however many days I need to. Sometimes, some weeks, I'm just so overextended that I have to just sit down at the end of each day and just fill in their day the next day.
And so it's
become easy for me because, once we're in the rhythm, I know where the kids are with everything. I actually, for math with the younger ones, I prefer just filling in their math every evening, because then it's because we're teaching for mastery, we're not teaching to a test. So it's we're not trying to speed through things. And so
they might get through things faster or slower.
They do get through things more quickly. But, if I were to plan out the whole week in math and they master counting by threes in, one day, well, I'm not going to spend the rest of the week on counting by threes. We'll move on to something else. So for the little ones with math, I tend to see how the day goes, and then I'll just plan the next day real quick. We use Math UC for Yeah.
which is like the
Correct.
counting blocks, right? It's like an interactive. They're almost like Lego pieces.
Yeah, the integer blocks. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for Matthew C, we use that for the early elementary grammar age.
So there are three, for those of you who haven't heard us talk about this before, there are 3 phases: grammar phase, rhetoric phase,
logic, and then rhetoric. Yeah. So the grammar phase is the foundational phase. You'd think like early elementary, you're teaching them grammar, you're teaching them basic math skills. And then logic is when you move into, okay, asking the questions why. Okay, well, how do I find good sources to find information on the internet, right? What makes something true? And then rhetoric is the stage where they're able to form the arguments that, defend what their beliefs are, where it's like they already understand how to get the information, and it's how to, like, to live by what their truths are, or what the truths are.
When you're planning it out, because how do you plan out all 3 kids? So we have 3 kids. Well, we have 4, but we have 3 that are in learning, right?
Yeah.
Do all of their schedules look the same?
No.
Okay. So how do you manage multiple schedules?
Okay. Well, I always start with reading, writing, and math. That's kind of because those are the 3 things that they're all doing differently. And I always make sure that I, nail down what and where they are throughout the week. And then I will pepper in, if you will, the electives, right? So things that we would do more together, like history, science, foreign language, Bible, anything that we would do more together. Even if the older ones like get extension work, those are still things that I would have highlighted that we would do in a group setting.
Yeah. Like we all read the Bible together because we're all learning about that. All different ages.
Our older son, he takes his own Bible class, so he's doing extension work from that. But we're all reading together. Same with history. So we follow, a timeline in history. We spend a little more time in certain periods. Like right now, we're doing the American Revolution. We're spending more time in that than we spent in, it last year. And then next year we won't spend. Yeah. So we do like a full sweep of world history
every year. And it's just based on the age group. So our oldest, he's 12. He has more sidebar work or will do a different type of presentation than say.
And we do a lot of like living history books. So he'll read he'll read diary entries like from that time period. Whereas like our younger children, they're not going to be reading, diary entries about from a Civil War soldier on the battlefield.
Right. So what do? Maybe they draw a map or something like that.
Yeah, right? Definitely maps. Yeah. Maps are, and then more high level.
Plus, we live in a pretty good area for Civil War and history in general.
Well, and American Revolution, which is what we're doing now.
Yeah, American Revolution for sure. I mean, DC area, there's like museums everywhere you look. Manassas is down the street, Bull Run, in terms of Civil War when you start talking about that. And then Yorktown, like we went to Jamestown.
Yeah, we went to Jamestown and Yorktown. Williamsburg, to the Triangle down there.
Right.
But yeah, so.
That's all history.
Yeah.
I mean, that is history, obviously, but that counts as history. So, because what you said there, and I don't really want to gloss it over because it's important, but you said like history and science were like electives because they're not the core, right?
Well, outside of reading, writing, math, that's just how I plan.
Right. But yeah, I know. Yeah. But I don't want to like glaze that. I know, I understand that. Yeah. But I don't want to glaze that over because history and math or not math, sorry. History and science are electives outside of the core. Reading, math, and what is it? English? Writing. Yeah. Same thing. So those are the core that you do every day, right? Those 3 every day. And then maybe one day you'll do history, another day you'll do science, another day you'll do Bible, right?
No, we do Bible every day.
Okay.
But Bible is so like history and science will alternate.
Right.
Like every other day. Yeah.
Okay.
But then like, so for example, something for like with science. Like we also do copy work, and so I have the littles. They copy the scientific method, right? That's like something
Yeah.
that they will copy it, every other day for that week. And now that's not what we're doing for science, but that's what they're doing for their copy work, right? So they're still getting that exposure to information, in science, outside of.
That's what they would do for like writing that day.
That's what they would do for copy work.
Okay, so break that down, because I was under the impression that for some of our writing, we were extending writing into other subjects to say like, okay, for writing, write this psalm or whatever, or write this proverb. And that's how you're extending it into other subjects. So, but you're saying that's copy. That's totally different than handwriting or writing.
Yeah, so we do also copy work, narration, and dictation.
Which are separate than writing.
Yes.
So what counts as writing?
So writing is going to be giving them the tools to write well, right? So what we use in the early years is we use Writing with Ease, which is where I read passages, or I'll read a passage. So it goes by week. So in 1 week, I'll read a passage. And then from that passage, I ask leading questions, and I get them basically to hammer down a summary of a passage, right? And so then they are like computing in their head, okay, well, let me write something about this passage. Let me summarize this passage. It's teaching them how to write.
So that's where you have the stories.
Yeah.
And you read the story and you ask them questions or ask to summarize the story.
And they have to answer incomplete sentences.
Right.
So I'll read something and I'll say like, what was the cat's name? And say like the cat's name was, and they have to form an incomplete sentence, right? And they're not even writing that down, they're just speaking it out loud. And then at the end of the lesson, I say, tell me in 2 or 3 sentences what happened in the story. And then they'll tell me really well. It's like almost like magic. I'm like, wow. Writing with Ease, it's great.
So give me the core again: writing, reading, and math.
Yeah.
And those are on every single day.
Yes.
We do those every single day. And so the planner that we have is cells, right? It's essentially an Excel sheet is what it looks like.
Yeah.
And so you'd fill in, walk me through it here.
Okay, so I have on the left column going down is the subjects. And so you can fill in all the subjects that you're doing that entire year.
Mm-hmm.
And then
the top is the days.
The top is the days. And you can do Monday through Friday. You could do days 1 through 5.
Right. If you're starting on like a Wednesday or something like that. Right.
Right. And I think that that's kind of also a good way to do it, because then it's like you can pick up on
any day.
Saturday,
you don't have to like start on a Monday. Right. Or if you wanted to only do school like Monday, Wednesday, or Friday.
Yeah. And
whatever.
then you just take Friday off and you're okay, well, we're on day 3 now, even though it's Monday. Right. Yes. And so then for each subject, I fill in what they're doing that day. Or if they're not doing anything that day, I just leave it blank.
And you print these out and you put it on a clipboard for them.
Yeah.
So they all have their clipboard on their desk.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a whole room with all their desks.
You don't have to have it.
You don't have to have that.
We've been really fortunate to have that.
It is nice.
Yeah.
For sure.
But we could take those boards on the road, and I take them outside. Like on days, I try to be outside all the time. And sometimes like I'll just pack up like their boards and then we'll just go outside.
Yeah.
And we'll just do school outside.
And when they're done with it, they just cross it off, right?
Yeah, just cross it off.
And at the end of the week, do you do anything with it at the end of the week?
I do. I have like a little reward system.
What's the reward system? That's the stickers? Is that where the stickers come in?
Yeah.
They're so pumped whenever they're talking about stickers.
Yeah.
Like, Dad, I got stickers. Because our stickers, somehow they are related to currency in some form or fashion.
So for the littles, they have a sticker chart, and once they get through a certain amount of stickers, so they get a sticker each day, they do everything on their board. So if they get everything done on their board, they get a sticker.
The whole week, right?
No,
for the day. For the day,
they get a sticker.
Okay, every day
so then
you get
if they get through like basically like 21 days, or however many days I decide. Sometimes I
we just roll with it.
They haven't got on yet, but and then I also put out like what they're working towards, like the reward. Right. Eleanor's right now is like, so
is it another backpack? I feel like it's always a backpack.
No, it's riding lessons. She gets
Oh, that's
to have
cool.
to go have a riding lesson, but it's completes schoolwork each day without fussing.
Right. That's a big one.
Yeah. And then she does that and gets through all her work. Then she gets a sticker.
So they all have that.
Not Avery. Avery doesn't.
He doesn't have one?
Doesn't have a sticker chart. No.
Because he's always fussing.
No, because he's 12, and that's not really
He's
what
out of the
his
stage.
reward is.
So there's so at what point did he ever have a sticker chart?
Yes.
When
He
did
had
we
the
stop
same
doing
sticker
that? This
chart.
year?
Probably this. Yeah, I think this year he's never had a sticker chart this year.
And how does he feel about that?
He hasn't said
He doesn't
anything
care.
about it. He doesn't care.
Right.
Yeah.
Last year he definitely cared about it
He's
though.
yes. It really encouraged. I think it really has helped him take ownership of his day
Yeah.
and his schoolwork because
Now-
that's the goal. The goal isn't to get them to work for stickers.
Right.
The goal is to get them to realize
Yeah.
they get what then they need to get done. Then they get rewarded.
He's
And
had
when
a
you get
lot
to
more
that
freedom
age-
this year where he's able to. So we got all the kids' laptops. So we are
Mhm.
Microsoft partners, and Microsoft makes a really good Surface. The Surface computers are fantastic. So all of our employees use the Microsoft Surface. They all use the Microsoft Surface laptop, which is a great computer. That's what I use. I use the laptop 4. Halie, you have the Studio,
Yes.
which is like the all-in-one desktop, which is badass computer.
It's nice. I like it.
And then the kids all have Surface Go 2s, which is like
Mhm.
this like mini laptop. It's actually built for students.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been great for the kids. They all have their own. They all have more decorated with stickers and all
Mhm.
did their own little thing for it. And then we have them. We got them set up, and for you that are listening, they're like, "You gave all your kids computers." So we set them up with Microsoft accounts,
Mm-hmm.
and then we are the parent account,
Mm-hmm.
and then we synced the child account to our parent account so we can see like what they're looking at. We can
Well, and we
block
also-
sites.
Yes. Okay. So we also have a management. You need to talk about this. So since our kids do have access to internet,
Yeah.
Eleanor and Chase don't. Because
Right.
It's.
Yeah,
It's
most of
put on
our
what they
most
need.
of our
But
oldest.
Avery, he has to go.
They
onto
all have
his-
access to the internet when they're doing school.
Right. But Avery.
Yeah.
He's-
Avery has more access because he's older and will go on to it sometimes to go like jump on YouTube, for instance.
Right. But so what do we have on our computer that keeps them safe from bad things on the internet?
Yeah, it's the way they're logged in. So it's actually twofold. So we have an Orbi system within our household, which is
Yeah.
like an internet setup. So it's like an internet booster, but at the same time, I can see what devices are connected to I can set up firewalls. I can kick devices off if I wanted to. Like I can totally stop them. Like our kids have switches, right? Like the Nintendo Switch where you can set like game time limits and stuff like
Mhm.
that. You can do that with an Orbi too, where you can just like turn the internet off.
But how are we keeping them from going on other? Because I know we have something that's on it.
Yeah, it's on
So Can
Microsoft.
you talk about that? Like, because it keeps them from looking at anything. Or
Yeah.
Like even anything popping up in like a Google search. That's,
Yeah.
Like not appropriate.
So we created them Microsoft accounts. So they all have their own Outlook account. So it's, their name at outlook.com, which you just go, it's a free account. And so we have Outlook accounts as well we use our business. And so we register them as children to our parent accounts. And then within the parent account settings within the Microsoft account, so I would log in as myself. I go into the family and I can see, I actually get a report every week, every
Mhm.
Monday. I think it's every Monday. I get a report of all the sites they've been to, if there are any updates that the computer needs, if there are it's like a total report, what they're searching. So if they're which is always stupid stuff.
Okay, but how is it keeping it like from Google searches, like something weird coming up?
Yeah, I can set their protection in the settings in my
Okay.
Microsoft account.
Gotcha.
So I can say that it sets their age.
Mhm.
So you're like, okay, this old. I think it's
Mhm.
based on it's like an age gap. And I think our oldest isn't we don't have him to teenager yet, I don't think, because that it kind of opens the door, because 13 and 16, 17 are kind of all jumbled together. But you set their age and then that restricts their searches. So in Bing or Google, because they use their Outlook account to sign into the computer itself. And
Mhm.
so everything they do on the computer
Mhm.
is monitored by that Outlook account because it's registered to our our parental account. So
Mhm.
we were able to block like YouTube.
Right.
He just couldn't use it. So it was like, all right, blocked YouTube. You can't use it. And so then we did open it up because there was like a couple like, what was it he had to do? Like a research paper or something like that. I don't even remember why we unblocked it, to be honest with you. Maybe we just got duped. Maybe he was like, I need to use YouTube. But we were able to monitor. So like you can get rid of like time wasting applications like YouTube or Facebook or whatever, but you could also like just straight up block sites you don't want them to go to.
Right.
So yeah, you could rely on the restriction.
Yeah.
But it's like an MDM, so it's like a mobile device management, similar to like business. We do that for our employees too. We can block different, and it's all auto, right? All through the internet. So it's very similar to like zero touch deployment when you're talking about in the business sense, where it's like we get a new employee, you order them on a Surface laptop, you send it to them, you register to our network, then you deploy a certain profile to them, which would be like a kid's picking what age they are. You deploy the profile, and from that profile of who they are, it'll give them specific applications to download, applications they can't download, and then put restrictions on what they can and cannot see. Yeah. So this schedule, which is up at homegrownwithhalie.com, you do it a week in advance. Sometimes you'll add in math, but most of the time you're doing a week in advance. You're leaving a couple cells open for math, and you're writing math on the right side, or on the left side rather. So what do you write? You write math, reading, writing, because of the ones you just do every day, right? And then you do history, science, and if they don't have it that day, you're just writing an X or something.
I just leave it blank.
You just leave it totally blank.
Yeah.
Okay, so what dictates that they have to do it that day? So like what goes in the cells like every day? So we have it filled out: math, science, reading, history, computer, Bible. We got them all written down on the left. Now on the top we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? And then there are cells that correspond with those, right? So like math Monday. What do I write in that cell? If there's, so you said if you leave it blank, if they don't have anything to do that day, and if they do have something, what do you write?
I just write what they have to do.
So there's like the pages.
Yeah, or if it's reading a chapter, reading
like page 1, lesson 2, or something.
Yes.
Of the book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So they have yeah. That doesn't seem very difficult.
Yeah.
All right. So it's not rocket science here.
Yeah.
You're not inventing the wheel.
I don't think so.
Oh, I thought you invented the wheel.
Yeah. No, I mean,
that's a history lesson.
That's one of the great things about homeschooling is
just keep it simple.
You keep it simple. I mean, I think keeping it simple helps for sure.
Yeah.
You don't need to overcomplicate something.
Right. Especially if the ultimate goal for this checklist, this schedule, well, one, it's supposed to be easy on you too. But the ultimate goal of the schedule is like where we've made it to with Avery, right? Where we just hand it to him. Well, we hang it above their desk. And so he comes down in the morning and we didn't even touch on the 5-ups.
I love you still call it high fives.
High fives, whatever.
You always laugh.
5-ups.
Yeah.
So
high five.
The high fives, which we'll talk about that in a second. Let's close with the high fives.
Should have started with it. I feel so backwards now.
It's okay. But we have that hung up above their desks. They come down in the morning, they take a look at it, they know what they're doing. Our oldest grabs the clipboard and just off with it, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes even though he's not really supposed to, he'll bring his computer up into his room and lock himself in his room and veg out, right?
Yeah.
Not really supposed to do that, but it's like as long as you get what it is that you're supposed to be doing, as long as you get it done, it is what it is. Now we do have another element to this.
Okay.
And that's the high fives, which I call them 5-ups apparently, and nobody else does. But the high fives is like the morning meeting.
Well,
right?
It's like your morning
it's a scrum meeting, stand up
checklist. It's like get yourself together.
Do you go over the schedule during that?
During the morning meeting, yes. That's the last thing of the 5 fives. And so the reason I have it is because it just got to be too hectic trying to make sure everyone's okay. Did you brush your teeth or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it's like now it's like, did you finish your high five? So the high five is get dressed, brush your teeth, have breakfast, make your bed, morning meeting with mom, right? So if it's the morning and we haven't had our morning meeting yet, and I see you running around chasing your sister with a pool noodle, I'm going to ask you, did you finish your high five? And if you say yes, then I'm like, okay, well, I need to hurry myself up so we can have a morning meeting and
Right.
like get this under control. Or if you say no, then I'm like, go finish your high five.
Right.
And that they know that means brush your teeth, make your bed, have breakfast.
And so then
get
at the
dressed.
morning meeting, what do you do at the morning meeting?
We read Bible.
Okay. So that's
and we
Bible.
talk about our day.
You go over the schedule.
Yeah.
Which you had already have made either the day before. Sometimes, have you ever done it in the morning?
Not really. No.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult to do it in the morning.
Yeah.
There's so much going on in the morning.
I would
breakfast
not recommend
and
that.
like
Yeah.
I do the same thing with like bricks. So I set my bricks, or for those of you who listen to Andy Frisella or are familiar with Andy, his power list is very similar to our structure of bricks. And I always write them the day before. I don't do it a week prior because of what you're talking about. Everything could be so fluid, and it's that sense of agile.
There are some things that you just need.
Some things change. You know, it's priorities
That's
change.
Why also writing it in pencil. As much as I love my like gel pens, and I do use my gel pens, there are times where I'm like, man, I wish I would have not have written it in pen.
Now we're crossing things out.
Yeah, so writing in pencil, because then you can erase and then change things.
Because I'm sure planning a week in advance is helpful sometimes, but things change. And you got to roll with the punches, especially if you're homeschooling. Your schedule is fluid.
Yeah,
you're moving around. You're going around. You might even be traveling, which, we'll be traveling a bunch this summer, whether it's a lacrosse tournament or RV or whatever. And sometimes you're just not going to get to things, and so things will roll over, and you'll move things around, and so pencil is always good. But that's how I do it with my bricks, is I write them the day before. I've never done it a whole week out. I've done it 2 weeks out, but only when things move.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you're planning for everybody else, it definitely takes a weight off your shoulders to just get it down.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's just sitting around your head and you're like, okay, this, that, and the other thing. It's like, just write it down, and it's like,
at least you have a starting point. Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. So you guys can go to homegrownwithhalie.com, download your schedule. Do you have a contact form on your site? You do, right?
I don't know.
You should. I feel like you do. If you don't have it, there should be a contact form up there. You can contact Halie. I'm sure you'll jump on in a call to help with their scheduling.
Yeah.
Reach out to her.
Yeah. I think that.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, of course you will. Or just hit some comments or hit the comments in this YouTube video down below if you guys have any questions you want to hear different. If you have any questions about scheduling, about your stand-ups, if there are something you guys want to hear us talk about, because we are going to break down the 3 stages,
right? The
grammar, logic, and rhetoric stages, and then we're building guidebooks right now for was it funny?
Well, I'm laughing because it's like scheduling, and then I'm thinking, then there's also managing the day. Like then there's actually getting through the schedule. Because just scheduling it, that's just like a plan. That's just getting started. Yeah.
Right.
Actually, like going through the day.
And
like in the trenches. As I feel like
when you're in the trenches.
That's like a whole.
When you're at war with the children.
That's a whole other thing.
Do you want to touch on that at all?
Not right now.
Okay, that's like a whole other episode.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, but I think like scheduling your day, using the bricks method, super helpful. But don't get mad at me if things are still crazy.
So that's a good point. So for bricks, right? I always say bricks 5. If you're going to do more than 5, eventually you're going to burn yourself out. Although right now I'm doing 75 hard, which actually today's my last day of phase 1. So my last day of the 30. And you have to do 8 tasks, which is more than I'm used to. Usually I only do 5.
Right.
I've been doing 8 for the last 30 days, which is a lot of tasks. So and when you're scheduling daily, how many is too many? Like, what's your number? Do you have a magic number?
No, I don't have a number.
Okay. So it's just like what feels right.
Yes.
So is there like certain ones that you don't like, do you have like a certain recommendation? Because what if I have like 10 different things that I want to do? How many should I do in a day?
I don't know what things are.
Okay.
You know? I mean,
that's like a as needed. That's like a how many kids you got kind of a question. I don't know. That seems like, I feel like that would be one of the first questions that I ask. Like,
how many things do you want to get through
how
today?
many subjects do I put on?
How much time are you going to spend there? Are you going to like really spend time in history reading, right? And maybe sitting down and having them read to you. And then maybe you're like writing something through from your history book and like copying something and doing dictation through there.
Yeah.
Are you going to call that just history? No, well, that's a lot of things in one, right? We're talking
Right.
about just things.
Right.
So it's really hard to
So
say.
how does that go on the schedule? How would you write that on the schedule?
I would write history, and if I was doing all of those things in history, I probably wouldn't do much other than math, right? Because
For
if
the
I'm,
day.
right, because if
Yeah.
I'm doing like the writing and reading, all of that
All in history.
that lesson,
Yeah, right.
But then if I feel like, okay, we've got a lot of free time, that's why we have like the kids take piano lessons, and so it's like, okay, well now you'll spend extra time practicing piano because all of a sudden like this took much less time than I thought it did, but I don't want you guys just going wild, which kids should definitely have free time, totally, but sometimes you need to have, some structure.
Right.
So having healthy habits that you're encouraging them to go and like draw, paint, practice whatever their sport is, go outside or practice their instrument, right? Things that you can like fall back on if you do end up like scheduling yourself light, or if you schedule yourself too heavy. That's why writing in pencil is good, because then you can just sneak in and like erase it off their board and they won't realize that you're like overwhelmed.
And so to bring back to like what previous episodes, deschooling is starting out light, right? So to find your groove of what you can put into a day, you do deschooling, bring in maybe like math and history,
reading, writing, math.
Reading, writing, math, and just do those three.
Yeah.
And then see how frequently you can bring in history and science.
Or see like what it feels good for you, like what you want to do for history or science, like what what feels right. There's so many options. Like there's so much that you could do as a homeschooler, So yeah, deschooling is important for that reason, for you to like take that time off and figure out what is right for your family. But then also knowing that what feels right like could change a bit depending upon your schedule, the season. For us, like sports plays a big role. So it's like during lacrosse season, like, we're spending a lot of time out, right? For practice and whatever. But yeah, so for Monday and Wednesdays for a while there, like I was scheduling the boys a little lighter so that they'd have some time to chill before practice.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah, we're about to go to Annapolis. 6 games in one weekend. That'll be fun.
Right. That's just one child. Can you
imagine? Just one.
Jesus, that's me 12 games in a weekend.
I know. Our second, he was like so disappointed that it's not that he didn't make the travel team. They just didn't have enough kids.
I don't know how that's possible. It's crazy. Lacrosse is a super cool sport.
I don't know.
How are these kids not wanting to play lacrosse?
I think it's just summer.
Oh, that's true. We are in summer. Hello.
Everybody's
swimming. Right.
So they do fall. In the fall, they'll have a team again.
Right.
And it runs fall through the spring.
That makes sense.
And so, the kids that are playing the summer right now, they play year round.
Right.
So it's like the 2033s, which is the 8-year-olds. That's a lot of lacrosse for an 8-year-old.
I know.
Have to take the summers off. But he was bummed that he didn't have a team.
Yeah. But
I'm pretty glad.
And just practice during the day. He's gonna be really good because everybody else is sitting inside.
Just sitting around. We're over here working.
Those lazy homeschool kids.
Bunch of lazy bums sitting on their couches. Gosh. Well, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the episode. Go to homegrownwithhalie.com. You'll actually be able to see we grouped all of our homegrown episodes over there. So if you go to homegrownwithhalie.com, you click on the podcast, it'll have all 6, now 7, of the episodes we've done on Homegrown. You can go to goworkwherever.com as well. That'll have all the episodes from this podcast, but we've grouped the Homegrown episodes specifically on that site. There's also 5 or 6 downloadables over there now. And we're doing some really cool stuff over there. We're building out a quiz to see where exactly you're at in terms of
what your homeschool style is and what your child's learning style is.
Yep. And then we're building out guidebooks for those styles for the grammar, logic, and rhetoric stages, so that you take the quiz, you see where you're at, you download the guidebook, and then you're off and running. And then while you're there, you can grab the schedule, print that out every week, And what else did we do? We did another one. The core values one is up there too.
Mission statement.
Mission statement and core values. That's up there as well to help you define why you're homeschooling, what your mission statement is, and what your core values are. So go over there, homegrownwithhalie.com, check it out. You got anything else before we go?
No.
No.
I'm all set.
This is great. Well, thanks for listening, guys. Until next time. See you.
Hey there! Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for all the latest videos from Capital Presence.